So I'm now sharing my screen and we are going into Microsoft Teams. In order to create a team, we click over here on this button and we create a team. We would use this button on the left-hand side to create the team. It is vitally important before you create the team to think through the process. There are various types of teams, and as you can see here, there are 4 different options, and you best choose the option that suits what you're going to do. Obviously, class teams would be the best option for a teacher with your classes. For an educator in a working group in your PLC, then it would be better to have the second option. At our school, we have a staff team, which is really good for staff administration. We can keep all kinds of records, minutes of meetings, etc. in this place. And then after school activities could also require a team. That would be a separate one. So, for example, we had a music group last year for our choir, and they had a separate team which was for their materials. So we would go to the team that we required the most. In our case, for teachers, we would go to the class team, which includes options like notebooks, sharing files, and assignments. When you click here, you would give the team a name. Give it the name of the class, etc. So a word of advice here, if you are teaching 5 different classes in the same subject, start the naming of the team with the name of the class and keep it short and simple, 5H, 5J, as opposed to grade 5J. It just makes it simpler and easier to find. Also think from a child's point of view, what do they see? Because also if they have too much to see, they then have a problem. You can write a description for the team if you need to, and if you've had a team before, you could use an existing team. So for example, if you had a team from last year, you could use that to create this one. You then go to next and it will create the team. Now you need to add members to your team. We have 2 kinds of members in a team. You have a teacher. Teachers have rights to everything in the team, and this is really, you need to think, are you team teaching? Are there multiple teachers? For example, if you have younger grades, it's better to have 1 team for all the subjects, and then all of the people who teach belong to that team, whereas as children get older, we then have class teams for different subjects, and we could create alternatives. So if you're going to add a student here, the student needs to be on your system. So if I type a name, everybody on our system would come up. I add the person's name, and so you could type all the names in. If I went here, you can see it just takes a few seconds to choose the people that you want to add to your team. And once you have chosen those people, you can then add them to your team. If you wanted to remove people from the team, the cross there would allow you to remove them. If you wanted to add teachers, you could then go off to the other side and you can add staff. And so you would add them to your team. Teachers having more rights, teachers being able to get into marking the work, assessments, etc. So as you can see here now, I have created this team and it's a very basic place to begin. If you don't like the picture, you can edit the picture by clicking on it, and you can change the picture for the team, choosing different options. You can also upload a picture that you particularly like. It could be a photograph of the class, whatever, and you can change the team and then update it. A very simple process. Now, perhaps you forgot to add a member, or someone new came in, you have a new teacher or a new child. You have these options here where you can add members. The process is exactly the same. It goes back to the same screen and you can add all the different members. You can also have the option of leaving a team. Younger children sometimes do this by mistake, and so it is quite important to just remind them that they cannot leave a team. If they leave a team, you have to re-add them, and it sometimes takes up to 2 days for the information to pull through again. You can edit the team as well, And of course, you can delete the team. When you delete the team, it will delete everybody off the team and the team materials. If you wish to use the team as a reference for a new year, it would be better to remove the members of the team and keep the team as your reference. You also don't want to land up with too many teams. Right, now the next step is, in my team, I may want to add some channels. Now, a channel can be different classes, can be different focus groups. So within a younger grade, you might have maths groups and you want to put them into different groups. You could want to add different classes, or you could want to add different areas. So here, to add a channel, we could call it, let's call it the bugs. And this would maybe be a smaller group. Now here you have an option of creating two different kinds of channels. The one is a private channel and the other one is a standard channel. The standard one is accessible to everyone, so anything that is placed in this team can be seen by everybody. Bearing in mind that any information you post, pictures, etc., chats can be seen. The safer option is to use the private channel, and only people in that team can see it. This works really nicely if you have different classes, because then you can send a message just to one class, you can have discussions with one class, and the information is private. And you would then go next. You can then add the different people here. So we could choose to add that person, and they're now added to that team. You can add teachers. So if you have a look here on the left-hand side, you will see now I have my general team, which includes the whole class, and then I have a smaller group, and you can see that there is a lock here, and that means it's a private channel. Only people in this team will see this information. Please look at the top here. You will see that you can only add posts and files. There are no individual notebooks here. The notebook can only be found in a general option.
Thank you, Tracy. So I'm now going to talk about a little handy hack. So one of the things, just waiting for the little hack to pop up. I know there's nothing more irritating than people thinking you're available and online when you're trying to get some work done. So there's a hack that we've put together called Appear Offline While You Work. The instructions are here. So you set your team status to offline, and you can be invisible while you are on busy working on Teams. There are also some other availabilities, like saying you're available, busy, but the offline one kind of lets you work without anyone knowing that you're online. Okay, we're going to show you another little handy hack, and this is going to be a little video of how you generate a code to set up a team. So for example, it's quite useful when you are trying to set up your team and you have a whole class of pupils in front of you and you don't want to manually put in each email address. You will do what is in this video. You will generate a code and then they will be able to join the team. Let's have the video. Okay, back to you, Tracy.
Thanks, Sarah. So let's go back to our team and what we were looking at in our team and where we've created our team. In the general option here in the class team, we have various options at the top here. We have posts. Posts is where you can chat to your class. This is like a WhatsApp. It's a private group for the people that are only in this team. We do warn our children that this is a public space, that this is not a chat zone, and this is really just for information pertaining to the class. The next one along shows files, and this is where teachers can upload work for children. There are various options, uploading, downloading, and anything that is stored in this class materials folder would be for the teacher. It is read-only documentation, so anything that you put in here, the children cannot edit. However, they have access to it and they can download it. The next one here says class notebook, and we will be covering the class notebook in our next feature, which is in 2 weeks' time. The following one is assignments, which also will be covered at a later stage, their grades and various other things that can be added. What we would like to go to now is, now that you have a class team, the important thing is now to teach that team. And so we would want to set up a meeting with our team. So here we would go to the calendar, and this is the preferred place for us to set up a meeting with our classes or with individuals. You can do this through the Outlook calendar. We need to caution you that there are various options there, and if you're setting up a meeting with your class team, you need to make sure that you are on your calendar when you send out the request, and it's not just an appointment, which then doesn't give you the functionality that we require. So here I'm going to set up a meeting. I go to the time slot preferred, or I can go to meeting here and click meeting. So now you add a title. Let's say it's a maths lesson. Required attendees. Now these are people that are outside of your class team. If you wanted to add additional people, outside people, you can add these people using email addresses. The next option down would be the date, and you can select it on the calendar, and then of course the time, and you can edit this down to various minutes, etc. You have the option for an all-day meeting should it be a longer meeting, which often in younger classes is quite a good idea. The next option is to repeat. Now if you have the same lesson every week at the same time, it's a really good option to choose this, and here are your various options. It could be daily, weekly, monthly, or you can put in a custom time frame, perhaps bi-weekly, which happens if you have a 10-day calendar. Here where it says add channel, this is where you would add your class. So if you click there, you can see all my different class teams come up, and this is where you would then choose the team that you would require in that lesson. It's very specific according to the name, so please be very careful when you select the team that you wish to go to. Then you click on there and you would click general. General would be the entire group would then be included in the team meeting, and I wouldn't have to go and add every child individually. Obviously location, it's an online meeting. Here in this space you could add some information for the people. For example, have your notebook with you, you need the following textbook, make sure you have your dictionary, or if it's an art lesson, what materials they would require for the lesson, and you would then send this request to them. It will then go into their diaries. They do need to accept the meeting. So if you have a look here in this calendar, you can see I've got some meetings that have a striped pole on the side. That means that I have not accepted that meeting. I can still join it, but it will not give me a join now meeting request 10 minutes before the lesson, which would happen with a meeting that I had already joined. So the joining the meeting, and over to Sarah now.
Thanks very much, Tracy. Right, we just had some interruptions here. We've had the lightning siren go off, and that's all the beeping in the background. Okay, thanks so much, Tracy. So up next is handy hack number 2, and this is an alternative way of doing meetings, which we're calling instant meetings. And for instant meetings, you would just go to team, go to a channel within that team, and on the top right hand side there is a Meet Now block. Okay, from that chat you'll start the meeting, and anyone can click join in that channel. Obviously, you would need to admit them later on. And now we're going to go back to Tracy, and she's going to talk about what you actually do when you're in the meeting.
Thanks, Sarah. So it is really hard to join a meeting when you're already in a meeting, which is where we are right now. So I have some PowerPoint slides here, just showing various options. When you click to join the meeting, you would get this screen as your first screen once you are in. Now, this is the person who set up the meeting. You can see here it gives me various options. So you can check your audio, turn on your mic, turn off your camera. You can change your background filters so that if you are in a space where you don't want people to see the background, you could change that. And you would then join the meeting by clicking on the bottom blue button. Now you can see I have joined the meeting, and in this place here, I have joined and I have allowed participants into the meeting. So you can see I have a whole lot of participants who are down below my name on the right-hand side. At the moment, the new update is an admit button. So we were unable to show you this, but you would get an admit button at the top here, which is where you would admit all the people into the meeting. If you don't admit them, they can't join your meeting. And in order to see the people in the meeting, you would click on the little people over here, and that would allow you to see all the people that are in your meeting. Here in this meeting, I am the organizer, and so I can actually phone other people into the meeting, so I can invite in an alternative person if you have a guest speaker, etc. And also anybody invited to the meeting that doesn't pitch up at the meeting, their names would be on the list, but they wouldn't be attending, and there is a button that you can click to ask them to join. At the top here, the second button is a little call out. The call out is for meeting chats. This is a good place to type questions, for children to type questions if they don't want to ask the question. And it's also a place where you can share information. The meeting that you're in at the moment does also have this option, and you will see that at some stage our producer will send out some things for you to use. It works in exactly the same way. The next button is the hand up. This button allows children to ask questions. A little yellow hand will appear next to their names. And what's really nice about this feature is the first person to put their hand up, their name appears at the top of the list. So it's very easy to see whose hand went up first. And then in order of question, their hands come up. They also have to click on this button to put their hand down. And sometimes you need to remind them to do this. The next slide here just shows you again the various options, a little bit clearer. On the further to the right, you have the video camera, that's turning it on and turning it off, mic on, mic off. This third button over here is the one that I have been using to share my screen. So with the arrow pointing up is share your screen, and you can see my entire screen is being shown to you at the moment. You can also decide which screen you want to show to individuals that are watching. And then obviously the last button is the leave button. What's really nice about the Teams meeting with classes is that when you leave the meeting, it also allows all the participants to leave the meeting, which stops any of the chatter after the lesson inside your lesson. The same applies at the beginning of the lesson before you admit them. If they want to be chatting, they cannot be chatting in your lesson, which really also stops any nonsense that may happen in these spaces. Another button at the top has to do with your participants. As you can see on the right-hand side, I don't have any participants here, but you have the 3 dots, which 3 dots always mean what else is there. and here you can change some settings. You can download an attendance list, which is really useful because sometimes when you're presenting you can't see who's popping in and out of your lesson, so you can download an attendance list and you can manage the permissions, whether they may speak. Here's another button, mute, unmute, and also if you want them to share their screen you will have to make them a presenter. So those are a few of the buttons that we have, and then we will be showing you a video about creating breakout rooms. Breakout rooms really are a fantastic new option, and that is the button next to the hand. Basically you will take the participants, you'll say how many rooms you need, and the computer will automatically or manually decide what you have. So please take a minute to watch that video at the end. Right, over to Sarah.
Okay, so what you can see in front of you is a short video that shows you how to do a gallery. So you click on meeting options. Over there, the 3 dots top right. Go down to large gallery mode. And then you can see more than 9 people on your gallery, which is really useful because it makes a virtual classroom feel like an online classroom. This is also together mode, which is just underneath gallery mode. It's just loading in this video. And what it does is it puts the pupils all in an auditorium-like setting. You can also change this theme to other together modes as well, which is also very fun for the pupils. We're just waiting for our video to end. Okay, the new video talks about how you would bypass the lobby. So this is if you have people who lose connectivity and they leave the call, you'd have to go to meeting options, top right of the screen. You have to click on the right where it says who can bypass the lobby. You would click just as I did here, people in your organization can bypass the lobby, and then you would say always let callers bypass the lobby. This is after the meeting has started and you would like to give the pupils access to join without you having to admit them so that your lesson doesn't get interrupted. Okay, sorry, we're just changing the background again, so you can just have a look at that video again and figure out how to change the background. You can choose a blur background, or you can also have your own background, and this little video shows you how to do that. As you can see on the bottom right, I've selected my own background and I've put that in, and that would have been saved beforehand. Okay, now we're at our famous infographics. So the infographic on the left is more suited to sort of high school learners, and this is just some basics. If you're about to start teaching online, there's sort of some etiquette that we advise that you follow. We advise, and I'm just going to talk through it briefly, we advise that you enter the call as the pupils on mute, but also with cameras on if possible, because obviously that gives the feeling that we're in a classroom environment. Also, questions. Okay, if you have questions, it's preferred that you would use the raise your hand function, or you can use the little chat button and type them in the chat, as Tracy pointed out earlier. You could also contribute, feel free to contribute. And obviously this is information on this infographic that you would tell your pupils. You would contribute through the chat. It's very disruptive if all of the pupils in the lesson have their microphones on at the same time and are all talking at the same time. So the raise your hand function that Tracy mentioned, the little yellow hand, is really useful for the pupils to use when they would like to ask a question or contribute to classroom discussions. One of the other really important things is the pupils need to try and look into the camera at the top of their laptop, on their desktop, or on their device, because that also enhances the human interaction, which is obviously what we're aiming for, to try and make the virtual learning classroom as real as possible. The last thing to just remind the girls or the pupils of is to stay attentive, to try and pay attention, respond to the teacher when they're talking. Obviously, in an ideal world, it's difficult to do anyway, but those would just be some key kind of rules for online etiquette for a high school audience. And we're going to stay on this slide, and Tracy is going to talk through more of a infographic of rules for a primary school audience.
Right, so our primary school children are a lot younger. Some of them are even in grade R, and getting them to sit still for a long time is also quite difficult. One of the first things we need to instill in the children is that this is real school. It's not a game we're playing, and therefore we need them to set up their workstation correctly. They should be sitting at a desk. If they are sitting in a common area, it is vital for them to have a set of headphones. All the noise in the background is very distracting, and often when I'm teaching the younger children, you can hear parents talking in the background, and this disrupts the entire class. So sitting at a desk like we are in proper school, sitting in a good chair, otherwise this also affects their posture, and children jumping on the bed is definitely not the way to learn. The second thing is eating. So children should start the day with a good breakfast before lessons start. When school set up online timetables, we do allow for breaks, for eating, for going to the toilet, etc. It is best not to have children eating during lessons. It's not good for the devices. It's very distracting for the other children, and so we try and instill in our children sitting properly, like in class, not eating. The children need to have all the correct equipment and stationery, and this you could put in your meeting request. Also, you could tell this to the parents in advance if they need specific things. We tell our children to get dressed, not sitting in their pajamas. Obviously, on colder days, they would be in tracksuits, etc. But some of our little girls, every morning, in order for them to be more formal, their parents are making them dress in their school uniforms, just to give them that effect of being at school. Being kind to one another, being kind to the teacher, being kind to everybody is really important at this time. It's stressful enough learning online. Soften your words, show more patience, allow a little bit of leeway in terms of getting work, handing out work, etc. Remember that there are different Wi-Fi's affected, there are power outages, and so we need to just bear in mind that sometimes children just need a little bit more kindness. And then, very important, we have taught our children digital citizenship rules. Remind them online all the time that they need to behave appropriately. I don't want to be watching someone jumping on a bed or somebody that's flying around the bedroom while I'm trying to teach mathematics. The same applies for the older girls in older grades 5 and 6. It's really important that they are in a quiet space where they can concentrate and they can work. All right, our producer is going to play some videos on changing your profile.
Profile picture on your Microsoft Teams mobile device app. This would be on through your phone, which is sometimes easier if you want to upload a selfie. Just while I'm here, it's very important to have a profile picture of yourself that could be a selfie or a Bitmoji that looks like you. Reason being is when you're on a Microsoft Teams call, your picture, your photograph would pop up instead of your initials. This is extremely effective, especially during times of meetings and lessons and communication during COVID, where pupils are often at home. Having the profile picture there helps to put a face to a name, helps the pupils learn who you are, and in response helps you learn who they are. So even if your pupils do not have good Wi-Fi or internet connectivity, a good compromise would be to encourage them to upload a selfie of themselves so that it at least helps you learn who they are before you teach in full-on contact. So once you're opened your mobile device app, click on the 3 lines on the top left-hand side. You'll see that my name is on the top left there and my selfie picture is there. You click on the icon, that is my profile picture, and it's popped up there, and then it says edit image. So I'd click on edit image, open for, you can either open the photo library to choose one from your own gallery, or you could take a photo. I'm going to select take a photo, take a photo. I have to just make it into selfie mode. There's a picture of me. I'm going to click. Okay, and then when I want to set this as my new profile picture, I click a tick. And that has been my profile pictures updated. Another handy hack for you. One of the most important things I've realized is to be able to try and work on a work-personal life balance. One of the most useful things that I did is I was able to mute notifications on my Microsoft Teams app on my mobile device. If you'd like to do that, open up Microsoft Teams on your mobile device, go to the top left corner, click on the 3 lines. What you'll see is notifications. If you click on notifications, you'll see that there are various settings, and if you go to block notifications, I've put here during quiet time. If you click on during quiet time, you'll see that you can select certain settings. So for example, I have selected the tab over here again for daily quiet hours. I've set it to start 6 p.m. every single day and to end at 7 a.m. So what this means is that I will not get notifications popping up on my home screen on my mobile device whenever I get sent a notification or a message on Microsoft Teams on my mobile device. What also I realized was important to have quiet days. So on Saturday and Sunday, I clicked quiet days and then I ticked Saturday, which also means that I will not get interrupted. As in the messages and notifications won't pop up on my home screen. The nice part about this is it sort of psychologically removes you from being constantly connected. But should you wish to go onto Teams to check something or have access to the mobile device app, then you can still just click on Teams and go in. It's just that you won't be notified. Other settings that I've decided to keep, I kept incoming calls because usually when someone phones me on Microsoft Teams, generally it would be like a emergency, especially if it's after hours. Besides that, I have selected off for important messages and off for mentions. Obviously, you can use your discretion and you could choose on for important messages. Okay, so that is my handy hack to try and assist with sort of a work-home life balance.
Right, we've had a couple of questions which we would like to try to answer. The first question that I was asked to speak to is the sharing of my screen or my documents. So the best advice is to have the document or whatever you want to share open. Also, a tip is please don't have your emails open with your private email, speaking to someone or documents about other people, and by mistake you share those things with your class. So in the meeting, if I go, I'm going to have to share my screen and then share a picture with you. If you have a look at this picture, right, on this picture, you will see we have all of our controls at the top. Next to the leave button, we have a rectangle with an arrow pointing up. This button is your share screen button. So this, when you click on this, would then pop up at the bottom, allowing you to join any of the things that you have open. So at the bottom here, you see I have various things open. So there are various options that you get. You will get options to share a window, and that would be very specific to whichever thing you are sharing. Very often it's better to share your desktop, because this would then allow you to first show a Word document and then move to a PowerPoint. You just need to be a bit more careful with what you have open. But it's literally clicking that button with the arrow going up, and that would allow you to share. Once this is open, this little button will disappear. At the bottom of your meeting, you would get a picture, and I'm going to try to put this into the chat of the meeting, and it will show a rectangle again with a little cross at the bottom, and this literally closes it down. And any teacher can do this, because I've managed to get grade R children to do it. So it's literally just a matter of sharing.
Okay, so we've had another question about how do you stop pupils from muting one another in a lesson. So it has to do with two things. The first one is when you set up the meeting, when you in your calendar, like Tracy had explained, you need to make sure that you are the presenter in the meeting, and that everyone else that you've added to the meeting are attendees, okay, or members of that, and then they will not be able to have the capabilities to mute one another. Another example of a way that you can also make sure that they don't mute one another, and that's if you go to a channel and you click Meet Now, automatically Microsoft puts all of the members in that team onto as attendees, but the only problem is that they won't be able to mute one another, but they also won't be able to share any documents or share their screen. So as you need it on an ad hoc basis, you can right click on the pupil and say you can a normal click on the pupil, the three dots next to them on the right, and then you can make them a presenter. And then they will have the capabilities to share their screen and to mute, unmute, and also let people bypass the lobby. And that's sort of the answer to that question. And our producer is going to put up our next hack, which is, I think everyone in South Africa will definitely agree with this one. And that is #data must fall. There is a reduced data usage function in Teams. So you would go to settings, data and storage, and then reduce data usage. And and so you'd still be able to interact by still being able to save some of that data. Okay. And then, I think that's the end. Yeah. Let me just triple check. Sorry, we did one of the bypass the lobby videos earlier, and we were going to do it now. So now we're just checking that we've done everything we want to do. And we have. So that's the end of our sort of conveying content in the meeting. And now we're going to use this time to answer a couple of Q&As or some questions that we can see in the chat.
So I just want to go back to sharing in the meeting and how to stop sharing your screen. I have managed to quickly do a little screenshot. So I'm just going to share that picture. So if you have a look here, this is when you are sharing your screen, you get this little pop-up at the bottom. So it would show you the button with the rectangle and the cross is your stop sharing. So the rectangle with the arrow pointing up is share screen, and the other one is to stop sharing. In this function, you can see you also have some of those little options from the top. So if you reach the end of your meeting, you could actually stop the meeting by putting the telephone down right from there and go out of your meeting. Right, thank you for joining us this afternoon. The final part of this broadcast is we have a video on how to make breakout rooms. It's a full video which our producer is going to show you. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, Sarah. I think we've managed to introduce some people to Teams.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and we hope that you enjoyed it.
I'll be showing breakout rooms in Microsoft Teams meetings. So I have a meeting here and I'm going to click it and I'll click join. Turn on my video. So I'm going to join a meeting and we're going to break people into rooms and it'll show exactly how this all works. So let's click join. Hey folks, great to be in this meeting today. We're going to be showing breakout rooms in Teams. So to get started, what I'm going to do is on the top of my meeting, there's this little breakout rooms icon and I'm going to click this. The first thing it's going to ask me is how many breakout rooms do you want to create? Now I'll just be creating 4 today and I'll drop this down and choose 4, but you can create up to 50 breakout rooms. So you've got a lot of flexibility. The other option here is participants. And would you like to automatically assign them, which I'll be doing here. And it says assign 15 people into 4 rooms, or you can choose to manually add participants into each breakout room. But I'll be choosing automatically and I'll say create rooms. Says they're being created. Now in the right hand pane, you can see it's created 4 different rooms and it has 4 people, 4 people, 4 people, and 3. The number of people is indicated with that little parentheses there. Now I could choose to add additional rooms here, which I'm not going to do, but I can also rename the rooms. So in this case, I'm going to choose the ... menu and choose to rename this room and we'll give them colors. So this is the blue room. And we'll just speed ahead and rename the other room's colors. So give me just a second. Okay, now you can see that I've renamed the 4 breakout rooms as 4 colors. What I can do next is I can actually choose to move people around. So you can see as I open up each room, you can see these people are assigned automatically to the rooms. And I haven't started the rooms yet. So let's say I have Mr. Adam Short Shorts here. He's in the blue room. But you know what? I think he's on Team Flipgrid. He should be in the green room, right, Adam? So let's assign, and I'm going to move Adam over to the green room. So now down here, you can see that Adam is in the green room. So it's really easy to move people around if they're not in the room that gets automatically assigned. Let's go into room settings. So go to the ... and click room settings. And by default, everyone gets automatically moved into open rooms. But I could uncheck that if I wanted to do it manually, but we'll leave it checked. Also, you can recreate the rooms. What does that mean? That means I can blast away all the current rooms and it will let me recreate like 5 or 10 more rooms. I'm not going to do that right here, but if you need to restart and blast them away, that's where you do it. And now we are ready to start our rooms. So I'm going to click the Start Rooms button right here. And on the attendee side, what's going to happen is they're going to get pulled into the breakout room that I've set up. So they'll get pulled out of this main meeting and they will get pulled into their breakout room meetings. And then we'll show what it looks like to be inside on the attendee side. So let's click Start Rooms and get ready to say goodbye to everyone. They're going to get moved into their rooms. Bye. Now, what if somebody joins the meeting late? Like here's an example right here.
Oh my gosh, Mike, I'm totally late. Where do I go?
Oh, don't worry, Anne. I will be able to assign you to a room. You know, I think you would be perfect in the green room with Team Flipgrid. So I'm going to assign Anne right here. So Anne Cosma, I'm going to select her name and choose assign. And it asks which room. I'm going to put you in the green room. Bye-bye, Anne. One thing I can do is send a message to everyone that I want to communicate. So I can make an announcement across all the breakout rooms. Hey folks, start brainstorming on your whiteboard, and I'll send this and everyone will get this message in their chat. We've sent your announcement to all of the rooms. Now what I'll be doing is I'm going to switch and show what it looks like from the attendee experience from people who are already inside the breakout room. So we're just going to switch over now. Now we're inside of the blue breakout room. There's 3 people in here, Benjamin, Kayla, and Steven. Then Steven in the lower right is going to open up the meeting chat. He's driving the meeting here. Now you can see he's going to turn on recording. He's also going to turn on transcripts because all those features work in this Teams meeting. Now they have a visitor here. Hey, there's me. Now Steven's going to turn on together mode because together mode works inside of these meetings as well. Now Steven's starting the whiteboard. Along the bottom, you can see the speaker attribution. You can see Steven talking, Kayla, and then Benjamin. Steven is leading a session on the whiteboard. But you can see this is a fully operational Teams meeting, and everything is captured. Now note in the upper right, there's a new announcement, a new message. Now Stephen's going to open the chat panel, and this is a message sent by the organizer, who was me in this case. So that comes right through and everyone can get a sense of what the announcements are. Now I'm going to leave this meeting and go show how the organizer can officially join into another breakout room. I'm going to go visit the green room and see how they're doing in there. I click the ... and I'll click join room.
This is great. We have a lot of things to work with.
Hey folks, that is a beautiful looking whiteboard. I'm joining the green room. This is where the party is. Woo!
Awesome.
Great, so I'm gonna go and leave now and make a message post to tell everyone to come back into the main room. I'll see y'all later. And then to just go back into my main meeting, I click resume. Now the breakout rooms have had plenty of time to be working on their brainstorming. I'm going to send a message that I'll be closing the breakout rooms in just a minute. So we go to the ... again, choose make an announcement. I'll be closing the breakout rooms in 1 minute, so I'll send this out. We've sent an announcement to all the rooms. Okay, now to close the rooms out and bring everyone back into this meeting, I'm going to click close rooms. So it'll bring everyone back. Now I've switched to one of the breakout rooms to show what they experienced. There's a message that appears that says this room will close in 10 seconds and you'll automatically be moved back into the main meeting. Hey everyone, welcome back from the breakout rooms. Looks like lots of great brainstorming and collaboration was happening in there. Now the way it works is you can see on the right hand side, each of the rooms is now closed. So none of the attendees can go back in. The other thing that happens is if you're an attendee who is in a breakout room, all of the files and whiteboard and information will be stored in a meeting chat that the educator or the owner of that meeting can access. So I will be able to go and access each of those 4 breakout rooms materials, and I'll show what that looks like in a second. If you're in a breakout room, you can only access the materials of your own breakout room. So the red room can't go check out the green room stuff and vice versa. But you will have read-only access to those materials. One other thing to note, as the meeting organizer, I have the ability to go and change the rights of organizer versus attendees. All of the people in the breakout rooms by default are as presenters, but if I wanted to change that beforehand, I could go into meeting options as the meeting organizer and set different people to have different roles before those breakout rooms start. So if you only want to have a group leader who has the rights to do a whiteboard or presenting, you can set those in the meeting options beforehand. Now, after this meeting is over, if I wanted to create participants into new breakout rooms, I could still do that. So I could add additional rooms here and I could reshuffle things. I've just shown the simple version where we just had breakout rooms that started and ended, but you could add more and change that around afterwards if you wanted as well. Now the meeting is complete. As the organizer, I can see the 4 breakout rooms: green, blue, red, and yellow. These are stored as meeting chats. And as the organizer, I can go and see there was a meeting. There's a meeting transcript. If there were whiteboards in here, I can check that out right here, and meeting notes. So for example, if I go to the blue room and click on whiteboard, I can get access to the exact whiteboard that they were working on. And then in the main meeting itself, this is the main meeting chat that everyone has access to. You can see there's a nice photo of together mode. So this allows you to gather all the content that was aggregated as the organizer. And as a reminder, the people in the yellow room only have access to their yellow room chat. They can't see the red or blue or green. They can only see the room that they were in. If you found this video useful, give it a like. Now, if you want to keep up with all the latest quick tip videos that I'll keep releasing, subscribe to my channel and then just ring the bell so you get notified for all the new videos that post.